What's up, everybody? So, this is going to be one of the few times that I actually inject a little bit of politics into any of my videos. I keep this channel mainly about movies and reviews and news and all that. But what's been happening right now with Trump's tariffs and everything like that, one of the things that has popped up is one of possible responses that China might have being banning all American made movies from entering the Chinese market. Now, Hollywood makes most of its money in the North American market. So the States, Canada, Mexico, but the second biggest market it has is China. And this is great for their bottom line. That's one of the reasons why so many movies have made billions of dollars over the last few years. However, if you think about where movies used to be, the quality that they used to have, the edginess that they used to have, the risks that filmmakers and studios used to take, that's all been basically absent for 10, 15, 20 years at this point. So, in my eyes, if this ban were to actually happen, which I really don't think that it will, I think all of this is mainly posturing, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that this ban actually happens and China no longer allows American movies to be shown in China. I actually think this is a good thing. And hear me out. So, if you're going to have a movie be played in China, it has to check all the boxes that China has for it. So as far as anything that is anti-government, anything that is at all, speaking truth to power and promoting a lot of Western, dare I say, American ideals to China, that is incredibly oppressive and incredibly restrictive as far as speech and freedom of religion and expression and all of that, then Hollywood is going to follow suit. So it's going to have to make movies that are not risky, that are not edgy, that are not going to be the type of movies you can say that came along, let's say, in the early 90s. All those indie films, from Richard Linklater to Quentin Tarantino to even Kevin Smith and these guys. And, those movies resonated with people because there was an honest and authentic voice making those movies. But if you have to think of, we can't ship that movie overseas and we can't make that movie because if we do, then we're going to have some resistance from some overseas markets and that's going to mean less money for the studio. I mean, people in the studio, they're lawyers and accountants and they got to think of, the bottom line. Filmmakers want to make art. They want to make something that is an expression of some kind of a story that they have within themselves. And so once you take that away, you're just going to sanitize everything. That's why, so many people are talking about man, they don't make movies like they used to. You're right. Because the risks that filmmakers used to take and studios used to take on telling this story that can be incredibly risque and provocative, they just can't afford to do that anymore, literally, because it's going to affect the amount of money it's going to bring into the studio. And so that's why you're going to constantly see comic book movies being made. You're going to see movies that are insanely predictable and boring and uninteresting. Without story, you have nothing. Truly. I mean, you can take any ideology, any, political viewpoint you want and put it in a movie. But if the story is terrible, no one is going to connect with it. Then it ends up just being a giant commercial that nobody really wanted to pay to watch to begin with. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Let's bring back the type of filmmaking environment that existed in the early to mid 90s. I would love it if that would happen, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that would. But hey, Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.